In this section on the theories and models of education, we're going to be looking at the life and work of Abraham Maslow. Born in 1908 and died in 1970, Maslow was an American humanistic psychologist. In humanistic psychology, the idea and focus is on finding strengths rather than deficiencies. He worked under the psychologist Harry Harlow, who are both credited with founding the humanist approach. He rejected Freud's theories of psychoanalysis and Skinner's theory of behaviourism, which were both popular at the time. So the main ideas were the fundamental belief of humanistic psychology is that people are innately good and that mental and social problems result from deviations from this natural tendency. Humans are motivated to meet their needs, usually in a specific order. They satisfy one need first before moving on to the next level. Maslow called this the hierarchy of needs. He believed that humans were born to realise their potential and that the importance of growth and self-actualisation was what motivated people to get to the top of the hierarchy. Maslow suggested that in order to meet their full potential, which he coined the phrase self-actualisation, they needed to satisfy the series of needs before that, and this was called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We can see from the diagram that the bottom needs are to do with physiological need, i.e. the need for air, oxygen, food, water, etc. The next level being safety, feeling secure, feeling safe. The next, love and belonging. Moving on to self-esteem, and finally self-actualisation. So how does this link in with classroom practice? Well, regardless of questions to do with scientific validity of some of Maslow's studies, many schools have adopted an approach to training teachers about Maslow's hierarchy of need, believing that it supports both a common sense and holistic approach to working with students. How do you feel when your needs at the lower end of the hierarchy haven't been met? Are you positive and receptive to learning if you're tired or hungry? Maslow believed that teachers cannot meet the cognitive needs of their students if the lower level needs haven't been met. Do you agree with this? And how will you know which needs haven't been met for individuals within your classes? What can you do to address some of the issues, e.g. making pupils feel safe and feel like they're belonging and boosting their self-esteem? Can you identify links between motivation and need? You might like to think about in what ways the school policies on behaviour, safety, anti-bullying, etc. support Maslow's theory. And do you think that any particular groups of students are more at risk of not having their needs met? For example, more vulnerable students, those with special educational needs. And how are the school addressing this? So it's interesting because rather than focusing solely on our internal thoughts and desires, humanistic psychology credits the environment's influence on our experiences. Humanistic psychology feels that growth needs do not stem from a lack of something, but rather a desire to grow as a person. Once these growth needs have been reasonably satisfied, one can reach the highest level called self-actualisation. Every person is capable and has the desire to move up the hierarchy towards the level of self-actualisation. However, progress is unfortunately disrupted by failure to meet lower level needs. Humanistic psychology is often seen as too subjective. The importance of individual experience makes it difficult to objectively study and measure humanistic phenomena, and many scientists argue that Maslow's biographical approach is extremely subjective, as it's based entirely on the opinion of the researcher, which leads them to question the validity of any data obtained. But we could argue that his ideas are based on philosophy as opposed to scientific evidence. You might like to think about how this links to the social constructivists Vygotsky, Piaget and Brunner, and the role of the environment in the learning process. You might like to look at the work of Carl Rogers, another humanistic psychologist. You might like to do some research on creativity in education and think about PSHE and well-being in schools. And although the SEAL agenda isn't current in schools, many schools still use social emotional aspects of learning in their curriculum design. Spiritual, moral, social and cultural SMSC aspects of education also fall into this area, as well as SEN and safeguarding. And you might like to go and look at some government documents on health, safety and wellbeing in education.